Welcome, everybody. So we are now hitting November 2023. 2023 is almost over, and we're just coming out of eclipse period. So today we'll look a little bit at some of the zero pointing that we can do when we apply non-dual astrology to the month of November. And most of you have been here before. But for those of you who haven't understood what non-dual astrology is about, I really encourage you to look at my longer video about non-dual astrology and just to look at this very quick slide, which just explains a little bit about the importance of looking from multiple vantage points in a time where truth seems very wobbly and where we can find a deeper truth within things when we look from different systems. And I would really love to invite you to subscribe and like this channel. We're trying to build it up. Our little school is growing steadily, and we have some amazing things coming for early 2024. And I'm going to be making considerably more posts about trending themes for the collective. We've just come out of a really deep eclipse journey, which was very well attended and very transformative for everybody who took part. And I'm going to really look at this job that I have where I share with wisdom keepers around the world, and often we get insights around what's going on for the collective. And we're able to hold space for people to have a deeper level of understanding in their processes. So if you subscribe to this channel, you're going to find deeper insights to what we're offering. And also, just to let you know, I'm around to start to give detailed forecasts, bespoke readings, soul surgery, and also corporate forecasts, or for people who are awakening corporates coming into wanting to make a change. I have a very detailed series of coaching and astrological work that I can offer. So lots coming. I also really want to tell you at some point later about our Shambhala Warrior training, but that is again something that is being supported from very, very high lineages. And I'm really grateful to be bringing what I would say this life's work to you, but also that of teachers of mine into something that again is going to be transformative for all of you. Okay, so do like, subscribe, and get in touch if you'd like to hear more. Okay, so we'll just do a little quick bit about general astrology. And after several months of being retrograde, Saturn's now going direct on the 4th of November. And that's definitely going to bring us into a deeper phase of going live with ideas that we were looking back at. And also we've been really revisiting some really old karmas that I think have been up for us, especially during this potent eclipse time. So Saturn is still going to be serving karma, but there's a deeper level of what you've had to course direct over these last few months because it wasn't quite for you. And so you may be finding that whilst everything's starting to become a little clearer since the eclipse time, that slowly but surely, in a very steady fashion, you're going to be seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. I wouldn't say that it's all finished yet, far from it. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit later. Jupiter's still retrograde until the end of December. And I think most of you have experienced this very potent series of beginnings and endings that in Vedic astrology marks this final Aries Libra portal of interpersonal and personal tweaking, death of the old persona, and yeah, some abrupt endings. Okay, so it's almost like Saturn's now letting us clamber out of that, but Saturn's still going to be tough love in terms of not letting us shift too quickly. So Dreamspell calendar, and I just want to just spend a little moment to open space more formally now. And I really want to give gratitude and call upon the celestial bodies to speak through me right now in this non-dual astrology forecast. I want to give gratitude to the day keepers of the Mayan lands, to my teacher Mark Elmy of that system, to Jose Arguelles, who brought through the Dreamspell calendar, and to the Rishis. I also want to honor Ganesha, the patron deity of Jyotish, the science of light. Om Shrim Ganganapataye Namaha. 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 So, we've had this amazing feeling of death and rebirth that's really also kicking in with the transition in Western astrology into Scorpio. And if you followed last month's transmission, you'll know that on the 21st of October, we came into a new galactic spin in the Dreamspell calendar. So that takes us into early November. This also has carried us through the eclipse portal. So there's a sense of renewal, of something that we're getting clarity on that will really start to become clear for a lot of you just after the 28th of October. And this, because of the way this is falling with the year lord being about yin receptivity and the dragon having quite a feminine energy as well, and the topic of the eclipses having been very much about reclamation from what is seen as the outmoded patriarchy and moving into having more yin-yang balance. We're still in that journey. It's not going away. But what I would say is that if you've taken those teachings well over the last few weeks, this is going to equip you well for how your integration of the eclipse period is going to land. And I say that because we are still not in full tangible energy in the way the wave spells are coming through over the month of November. It's totally in keeping with natural law. It's absolutely amazing. It's this whole concept of dreaming before doing, being receptive, watching your ecosystem, not putting all your cards on the table and not thinking you have the complete story just yet. And if you do that, you're going to be getting these waves of clarity. And I'm in it myself right now. I've got a lot of things up around where am I going in a few months and all of these things. And I'd just love to know, but I know that it's going to be revealed over the month of November. And I'm consistently trying to push it. And that's our tendency in the West, is to try to push the timelines. So you're going to see that this is going to be a series of deeper reveals over the month of November. Because from the 3rd to the 15th, we come into the Wizard. And this is all about receptivity and timelessness. And this is in keeping with the year lord for this year in the Dreamspell calendar. We're in a white overtone wizard year where we have to work at our receptivity. And so I love that we're coming out of the eclipse period, which was, again, about really looking at our yin receptivity and looking at where we've subordinated the yin within us and where we have to reclaim that which has been marginalized. And it's almost like this echo through to the year lord, to the eclipse theme, is helping us to stay in that frequency to implement the teachings from eclipse season. And so please take time to have a bath, to switch off, to meditate, to not think about what's next, to just what I feel is that the universe is working really hard to bring us our optimum results. And we're, of course, quite bossy and demanding. And behind the scenes, there's amazing stuff taking place. I do feel that we're on the tip of something great. But there are a lot of obstacles in the astrology, and we're going to see those especially in the Vedic astrology. So don't jump too soon. Honor that the reveal is going to take place. What I see is it's almost like if you can compartmentalize and be satisfied with getting 10% of your next bit of information one week and knowing that that's enough to deal with for now, and be receptive to new messages. I think that there's going to be some deep plot twists, as eclipse always brings, in what you thought was the true answer. And then it's going to take the month of November to fully land. And I think sometimes we think, oh yeah, the 28th of November or the 28th of October, the eclipse finishes and I know everything. I would caution, and I know this because I've done divination on my own timelines, and I can see that some of the things I'm starting to get clarity on are going to take a little while to take full form, and that I shouldn't make silly decisions because I will hamper the better optimum results. Okay, so if you're struggling to make a decision right now, put your finger in a few pies provisionally and don't make the main decision just yet. But if it serves you to say, I've got a little bit of clarity and I just feel like I need to do something, do a little bit, but do it where you know you're not going to lose everything if it goes to be something different. I'll give an example. I've got some Airbnbs provisionally booked, but I've done the ones where I can get a refund because I know that I need the security for those places, but I'm not quite sure they're the exact right place, right? So that sort of thing will really help. Then from the 16th to the 28th, we're coming into a deeper knowing energy. And this is a really good time for divination for you. So if you want to go and get a reading around that time, if you want to ask the universe for deeper signs, whatever's happening beyond the veil to help to micromanage things better for you, I think is going to become more tangible from the 16th to the 18th. Hand energy can also be about beautifying things. It's about the beauty way. It can be creative time for you. And also, if you're somebody who works with things like energy medicine, or you're wanting to study something like Reiki or Sekhem, this can be a really nice time to start to receive some healing or to do an attunement, or if you are studying this, to practice more. This is a really beautiful time for that. And we're going to see more of that as well when we do the synthesis. And then from the 19th to the 11th, this is where I feel we're really kicking into the full illumination of what the eclipse cycle wanted to bring to us. We're coming into sun wave spell. So this is where a deeper soul essence, a deeper enlightened quality as to what this whole shenanigans has been about in the last month or two, that's going to suddenly take a more fixed form. I would say sun is a wonderful leadership energy. Sun shines bright. Sun is, of course, pivotal to our life in this solar system. And, you know, I look at people with sun energy and they shine brightly, but also sometimes they take on too many responsibilities and end up sometimes shirking them. And one of the shadows of sun when it manifests within some of these systems is that sun sometimes forgets there are other members of the orchestra and it can take over, okay? Because it's too busy shining all the time that it suddenly doesn't remember that actually we have nighttime in our experience and we don't need the sun at night, okay? So how I would try to put that into the collective field is do try to manage your ego as these downloads are coming through. And give space for collaboration, for other things to be possible, because you don't have the only picture. Sun does not have the only picture for our reality in this life, okay? And so you might feel like, yeah, I really get it now. I really understand something. Just leave some space for what is unseen and unilluminated to also be in the field. Right, okay. So now we're going to come to the Mayan calendar, the sacred calendar. And from the 28th till the 8th, we're coming into Ik. And this is strong medicine. And Ik is the wind, Ik is speech, and Ik is a new message, inspiration for change. In many ways, the energy that we sit on the 28th, on the final part of the eclipse, is very Ik energy, because we have a lot of energies with Rahu waiting, which is very pioneering, futuristic. There is a little bit in the way that the planets are aspecting where speech is having an issue around being forceful or being heard. And this has been a very big wound that we've been working through with the eclipse, is speech. And Ik coming through, Ik is seen as one of the stronger of the Nawalis in the system, but Ik as powerful, sometimes that has abrasions, just like Sun has abrasions in the other system. Because sometimes speech is forceful, speech is violent. And we definitely in the Vedic astrology have a little bit of an uttering of this healing that we're going through with speech and this journey of reclamation through eliminating that which has seemed oppressive or non-inclusive. We're still in that journey to find our authentic, balanced voice. Ik does not fully hold that all the time because it can be forceful. So what would I say? I would say be careful with how you're using your voice. Don't speak too much too soon again. If there is something you have to say, meditate on it and do say it. You have a portal where maybe that was a lot of people, for instance, over the eclipse period have had throat infections and they felt the stifling of the voice through their physical body. So Ik is going to be an interesting energy. It's funny because as I was making this part of the transmission, the internet cut out. So Ik has this strong energy that can sometimes be a little bit forceful. It has to know how to use the power of its speech appropriately. And I do feel that it means that on a multidimensional level, we'll be getting these messages from other places because it's not just about our physical speech, but it's about our multidimensional energies that come through. So my slide's just gone off. And because of, as I said, the journey with Mars and Mercury energy and the eclipse energy, a lot of us have been overcoming past life blocks around our speech. A lot of people had a throat infection during the eclipse time. And in the last month's transmission, I said, it's not a done deal. It's not like suddenly we're all really eloquent and we have pristine speech. And it feels like it's something that's coming forth in our speech. But we have to overcome the tendency for speech to dominate, okay? And to look at that and to just keep monitoring. Am I working from an excess or a deficiency when I speak to others? And this is a really big healing that we're going to have to undergo. Because often when we've been marginalized, we want to speak up. But if we speak up the wrong way, people shut us down because they can feel the wound, okay? So just little steps is what I would say here will be really useful. Now, very similar to the energy that we have simultaneously in the Dreamspell calendar, where we've got this receptive quality that's not about doing too much just yet. We have Sekhem in the sacred calendar, and Sekhem is the eagle. This is about flying high to see the bigger picture. It's a visionary energy. It's one step ahead. And it's also the heart in many ways. And the eagle represents the heart chakra in many cosmologies of the world. So as a visionary, we often spend time not just in the 3D world. The eagle gets its precise vision from the fact that it's an intermediary between realms. And so this is also a good time to be looking at the signs that are coming for you and the murmurings that are coming through the timelines. And this is also going to dance with the hand that is in the Dreamspell calendar that we spoke of earlier, which brings this deeper sense of divination and knowing. So there's this beautiful dance that's taking place between these visionary components that are ever steadily bringing forth these messages for us to muse upon, okay? And so really let yourselves be open to this, because this is going to mean deeper precision in your timeline for 2024. If you jump too early, you're going to miss the gold. This is coming through in this beautiful filtered way. It's almost like a wine or something that matures. It's going to keep yielding. And then, very similar to what's taking place in the Dreamspell calendar, at the end of the month, we start to come into Caneel energy. And Caneel is linked to the star or the head of a yellow flower. So it's all about the blooming, the gathering of the crops, the abundance that comes from that. So if you sit tight, you will really feel the benefit of the new messages that have come through. And on the other system, we have the sun really sharing this illumination energy and bringing something to light. Okay. So we have these beautiful solar ripening energies coming through. And as we can see, it's nothing's firm in the early part of the month. And that's okay if you treat it as this natural cycle. I think it's just amazing how this all happens. Okay. And then we're going to look a little bit, well, we're going to look quite a bit at Vedic astrology, because there's a lot going on. And this again speaks to this rehabilitation energy that's coming from the eclipse, but that things are not full power yet, okay? So as I've said in other transmissions, we do have a beautiful thing with Saturn coming into Dhanisha that's here until the 24th of November. And this is the Star of Symphony. It's about being in tune with the natural cycles and the way things work to bring forth the right thing for fruition. And this is about often something that you've been working on behind the scenes for quite a while, and that maybe even went away for a while, and suddenly it's coming in strongly. And so this energy can bring success and expansion, but it's hardly likely that it's going to be through something that's just new. That will be like flash in the pan energy. If there's something that you've been waiting to launch and it's feeling like it's coming to completion, this is a good time to get it out there and have it to be well received, putting it into the ethers, getting the pilot ready, all of those sorts of things. Or if you've done a pilot, to now go into the deeper stage of delivery of that. So this is a nice energy. And you know, Saturn's going direct at the beginning of the month, so you've got almost a 20-day window that's really good for polite launches of things that will actually probably be well received. And yeah, I think that if it's something that you've been working on humbly and you've been trying it out, you will see the right people showing up, okay? Even though nobody fully knows where they're at, this is a good time to get something out there, okay? But just knowing that the full picture isn't there, but it's okay to launch something at this time. Now, Saturn's still aspecting Mars this month, and this means this is this kind of Martian meets karma energy, and we can look at the war in the Middle East and this conflictual energy that's coming in. And so Saturn and Mars are still sitting in that aspect for a chunk of time. And this means that whilst Mars wants to get things done, Saturn is saying, yes, but you have to do it by the book, and it's going to slow Mars down from Mars's fullest drive. Mars has a lot of drive. Now, Mars is coming into Scorpio, which means that Mars is at home, Mars is able to deliver, but there can be frustrating setbacks. And these will all serve you well in the future, but they can be frustrating. And it could also mean that there's this polarized energy with something that's more hot and fiery going against Saturn, which is very cold. And they try to do things a different way. So do know that there could be setbacks this month, and do know that sometimes it's going to go into that well-known pressure cooker that I think we've been experiencing over eclipse period, that has meant that things feel oppressive or like a war, when maybe that's not really how it is. And it's just serving a function of moving through karma and also trying to hold you back from peaking too early. We see more of that with the fact that Venus comes into Virgo on the 3rd, but is debilitated. So it's not in its strongest position. Sun is in Libra until the 16th, again debilitated. So the illumination energy is not so strong. The Venusian energy, the skillful dance, especially with the outer world, with our offerings, with what we're working on, these are all a little bit thwarted. They're just not going to bring the full strength. That's why it's so important to use your yin energies and to let yourself be slowed down to go into these deeper dreamlike states, because the natural law of the way things work is coming for us so amazingly impeccably this year. As we've come into this wizard year, we can't move too far ahead because we just don't have full momentum. Okay, so I see this as a beautiful cosmic mechanism to help us to really integrate beginnings and endings. What I do every year around this time, because we have this fixed energy in the sky of a Taurus Scorpio alignment, is, and because of the moons are going to be sitting in Taurus Scorpio, this is when I usually do my review of what's coming into my field, who's dancing with me right now, and what's coming out of my field. And I find it a really good way to be working in non-duality with endings. So you might find that useful to do around the full moon and the new moon. I draw circles where it's a little bit like how we map permaculture, and I look at who's showing up right now in my life, what's really moving, and where do things just keep not flowing? And there's no point in you spending loads of time on what's not flowing. It doesn't mean you fall out with people. It doesn't mean you don't speak to them again. But if it's not flowing, don't spend all your time wasting your energy on answering their emails first when you know it's not flowing. Look at what's flowing, spend more time on that. And this will help you to develop more robust boundaries. It also, I put things of like, who's my core team this 6 months. I do this twice a year. I do it always in the Taurus Scorpio. They're both very fixed and determined. And it just helps me to be tidy and to just not take on endings with people and things emotionally. And to then be very fair about where I'm putting my time, because especially because I'm a manifesting generator in human design, I can be too attentive to responding, and I could be responding to the wrong person for too long. So this can be a really good time for you to just be assessing your ecosystem and seeing who's showing up. And you're getting this beautiful opportunity for review, starting to see the signs. You're not full power. Why are we not full power? Because we're supposed to be watching. Okay. The more time we spend on observing and reading the landscape, this is what the indigenous people do, the more we understand it and we're actually in communication with it, then we're going to make the right decisions. So you can use the debilitation of Venus and Sun to actually let you leapfrog into deep project management in your own backyard to help you to set yourself up for when you're going to be going faster to be really streamlined. Okay, so that's a good top tip. It's been working really well for me as someone who otherwise gives my time and my energy away. And it's also helped me to just not take things on and see them as personal, but to just see it as part of the impermanence of everything. Okay, so now moving on, Venus, while it's in Virgo, is going to spend quite a little bit of time in Hasta. the nakshatra. And what's really interesting is that Hasta symbol is also the hand, and we have the hand wave spell at the same time in the Dreamspell calendar. Can you imagine? And Hasta also lends itself to DIY, creative pursuits, Reiki, Sekhem, energy healing, all of these sorts of things. So this can be a really nice time if you need to do some DIY, if you want to put some embellishments on things, and if you want to give or receive energy medicine, okay? So that's going to be really useful over that period of time, excuse me. And then we have Rahu and Ketu changing signs. So this is big news because this is a change that's going to be in effect for 18 months. And this is why we were talking so much about the Aries Libra axis in the last month, because the eclipse has been really bringing to light all the last lessons that we need to learn from this 18-month cycle as to who are we when we're showing up as ourselves, and who is the old persona that needs to go. And similarly, who are we with people and other people and interpersonal relationships? And again, what needs to go? And where's the discomfort with that? Particularly, where's the marginalization in that, or the overdominance? So we're now changing to a whole new wave of teachings. And that's coming in on the 28th. So it's interesting because we've had 1 month to integrate the eclipse. And then we're coming to a Pisces Virgo axis, which I will talk about more deeply in the coming months. It will work well for December's transmission. So Pisces and Virgo very much represent the 6th house and the 12th house. So Virgo is very hardworking. Pisces is more intuitive and spiritual. And often in this world, we find it really hard to create balance with our spiritual world and our work world. So how does that manifest? Some people overwork and then they don't have any time for their deeper dharma or for really connecting into devotion and things like that. Other people are too woo-woo and don't ground it into the physical and don't actually apply themselves. They are just so busy checking out that they don't apply themselves to the deeper part of their physical dharma. So we're going to be really having to find a balance between that over this next 18 months. And it's obviously going to manifest for you differently depending on where it's placed in your chart. And if you want to come for a reading about that, please feel free to come. I would also say that one of the big things that I see at the moment is so many people going into these processes of awakening, which is so amazing. But the really big challenge for a lot of people is, how do I sustain myself? I can't go to my corporate job anymore, but I haven't got a client base. I only just had an awakening a year ago. How do I make this work? And so this finding of the keys, which are Virgoan part of the axis has, is going to be really important. I think a lot of people overnight want to change and then realize, wow, actually there's a lot of experienced people out there. And the thing is that we can't rush our spiritual path because otherwise we can tend to delusion. And we have to also remember that if we want to go into spiritual endeavors as our career, that we also have to lose some of the materialistic tendencies that come from the more 3D world and to start to become more generous and more giving. And it's going to be interesting because where Rahu is coming into is going to be really looking at the process of wealth, transcendence, sowing seeds to create a legacy, and many, many other things. And then it's going to be really looking at how do we become that generous yogi. So that's going to be really up. And there's going to be a lot of people with a real drive to set up spiritual endeavors in this time. And actually, they're going to need to balance it with their work life because you can't transition immediately if you want to do it authentically. Okay. because otherwise you're putting values from what we call samsara, from the karmic part of our existence, which is pretty wonky, into the spiritual realm, and that doesn't work. Okay, it only works for limited audience. It remains superficial, and I think there's going to be a lot of teachings about that in the coming time. And yeah, it's about finding that sweet spot. What I would say is that we could really benefit from starting in this phase, really mapping what your work life, if you're coming out of the more material corporate world, what tools it's already given you that are going to help you and maybe help you help others. Because sometimes people try to copy what somebody else is doing who's very established in the field, rather than looking at their unique karma and why they had the upbringing they did and why they went into a certain job, and to actually do an audit of what that's given you that's going to help you in your spiritual world. Okay. So this could be a really good time to look at that and to try to find the balance in the seesaw. And we'll go into that more deeply in forthcoming transmissions. A few more alignments that I saw when I was looking at the dream spell and the waves and the Trisena is that we have this direct movement of Saturn coming straight at the beginning of a new gestation, a new 260-day cycle in the Galactic Mayan calendar, the Dreamspell calendar. How phenomenal that is, that it's saying we have a new cycle upon us. A new wave of karmic ripenings are coming for us. There's a different flavor coming. That's why what we've just gone through seemed quite brutal, because we have a whole new cycle coming, and that which we need to pioneer is now becoming clear, but now we have to take it into a different world with these new axes. So this is really amazing. And what's coming up as well is that we have Vishaka energy really strongly up at this time. And that's the nakshatra Vishaka, and it's the star of purpose. So this whole idea of who am I, who do I show up as? And then now we're looking more at what's my purpose in the workplace? What's my spiritual purpose? This is really up. Okay, so I think a lot of us are really looking at that. So some keywords for Vishaka are patient, jealous, devoted, persistent, purpose, success, competition, leadership, single-minded, choice, passionate, goal. So here we're really asked to follow our purpose. And what's been beautiful about the last month was that we've really been asked to do an audit on who I am not. You know, none of us are anything really of what we show up as to the outer world, because we are all a spiritual being in our deepest essence. But there is a lot of circles that we may have been in, which are reinforcing the historical self to us. And what do I mean there? Well, I think that sometimes we become typecast as the person we were 20 years ago. And yeah, I give an example that a lot of people come and say, yeah, hey, Vicky, and they remember me from certain offerings I was giving 10 years ago or 25 years ago. And those things were just offerings. They were never me. And yeah, it's funny. I can see they're talking to me as a historical person, and they don't really know anything about my journeys over the last 20 years. And a lot of us are having to move away from that feeling of being blocked by that, because it's trapping us into ancient history, into a folder that doesn't apply, that almost was, it doesn't even seem like us anymore. So Vishaka is really asking us to assess, what is my purpose in the spiritual domain? What is my purpose in the working domain? And especially to integrate what you are not and what the eclipse taught you. So good luck with that, everybody. And then it feels really amazing that as we come into the Sekhem, the more visionary energy, later in the month, we come into Anuradha nakshatra energy more. And this is the star of success, but it's a lot about devotion. Okay. And so where is your bhakti? Where is your devotion in this world? It's also connected to the lotus flower. So this can mean for people that new relationships are on the horizon, or there are people in your life that you've realized represent the new chapter for you. I certainly can see that I'm really feeling the tangible quality of what our little school does, and honoring and celebrating the people who are coming near, and realizing we're making a decision to do something together. And this devotion to each other and to honor in that space is going to be really important for these coming times. So again, this comes back to who's showing up, who's there, who sees you right now, who gets it. Okay, this is, look at their eyes, look at the body language, look at, is this person showing up on time? When we sit together, is there an adequate flow? Are we listening? Are we speaking equally? Or is somebody just taking over? Is this, am I bored of this? All of those things. This is a time to really start to foster this deeper, deeper transcendental devotion for your Sangha and for the people who are coming in. Okay, so I'm going to give a little synthesis here. And yeah, so just a few little notes here. So just saying, again, we still may have some stifled speech and wounds around the voice, and the throat chakra should be beginning to heal, but again, it's not a done deal. Venus Virgo is, yeah, you know, this is also bringing up questions about our working life and our devotion, our creativity, and our relationship to the outer world. And Venus is compromised. And it's like the first part of the month, I think interpersonal things are still a little bit awkward because we're waiting for the eclipse energies to settle. And Venus is not comfortable. But then, of course, Venus is going to move very soon to Libra. So we're in these kind of integration energies of eclipse. Oh, that person really doesn't feel resonant. Oh, I feel awkward here. All of these things, just look at those. How is that showing up for you? Where's that discomfort? Bringing a little motif that was running through the eclipse for you and helping you really to realize this is my time to audit. And yeah, this is maybe not my in-group right now. This is maybe not where I'm supposed to be. And just let you seamlessly map that, okay? Mapping is so important. I'm just going to speak now of the first law of permaculture, which is mapping your terrain, whether that's your human relationships, your workplace, the land you live on, the house you live in. And so this is such a perfect time to do your mapping. It's coming up really strongly here. And yeah, just as Saturn's going direct as well, Saturn, of course, is sitting in Aquarius right now. And this is all about these new societies, new formations. Who gets it? Who is a visionary in your field? What I'm noticing is I have some beautiful colleagues and friends that I have had maybe like a 7-year journey within co-inquiry in a certain field. But what I notice is that the field that we worked in it's a bridge to how we became colleagues and we worked together. But for none of us is it our dominant field. So the relationships that we had, that Dharma and what we shared in that shared space is not a strong point anymore. And they have their Dharma and their new societies with their specialisms to run. And I have my Dharma with my specialisms and the places I'm working to run. And we have to focus on those. So Saturn, I really get the sense that Saturn is going direct. It's now saying, right, everybody, you are going to have one more retrograde period, which is going to happen next year. But you need to now really look at who's in the similar spaceship to me, who's getting the codes and keys from the Guru Chandra Yoga that we had, which gave us these new multidimensional perspectives. And you need to find your key players for that. And don't worry about these other commitments that are coming to an end. They may come around the block again later, but the thing is that you really need to look at the shared Dharma that's most novel for the upgrade that you're specifically in, and not try to compromise the field with the bridge field, because you have to get in the right lane for what you're offering. And so this ending, beginning phase, this life, death, rebirth that we've had and that we're totally in because it's a Scorpio time, is really going to create spaciousness for all those new novel energies to come through. And then, as I say, when we go into next Saturn retrograde, there's going to be further course direction and tweaking. And then after that, we're really looking at what old karmas were stopping us from being a novel key player in bringing about a golden age, and where were we actually going into past life tendencies of subordination, putting ourselves in the wrong ecosystem, any of those things. So the universe has amazing plans for us. We just need to not get in the way. Finally, mid-month, the lessons are going to truly land from the eclipse season into a deeper knowing and a practical way to step forth. Please spend the time being open to signs. Don't push it. Remain receptive. And as I said earlier, you're going to be getting keys for 2024 now. And and obviously if you want for a 2024 reading, I also can help you with that. And I can also help you with shamanic journeys to start to do a shared journey of divination to find your unique keys and codes for 2024. It feels really special because we don't always have these energies hitting in this way where we're allowed to be an active perceiver. It really does feel like we're being equipped with cosmic tools. I'm teaching a lot more on things like divination at the moment, because I think that when we realize that we can have a dialogue with the universe, we become more connected with everything. And one of our biggest suffering points in this incarnation is that we feel excluded and exiled. So if you start to use divination, you will start to see the signs that are unique for you. We have a divination course, and we also have divination mini packages if anybody wants to know more about that. And I find I have accuracy in where I need to go, what courses I need to offer, all sorts of things because of doing divination. And I have to move around quite a lot. And it's funny because at the moment, for all of us, the crystal ball is a little bit cloudy as I make this right at the end of October, because we're still under the eclipse energy, and it's still got some medicine to give us, some plot twists to come. And as I say, those won't fully all land until about the middle of the month. Finally, end of the month, we have some great new opportunities that will help us to shine forth. Remember to keep the ego in check. Just because you get clarity and you suddenly see how amazing it actually is, that what the universe has in store, remember that oversharing that, all of these things, sometimes takes away the magic of what the universe really wants for you to have. When we keep observant and keep it real, actually the results and the rewards are greater. But I do look forward for all of you for this period of illumination that's lining up. And please do give some comments in the chat box, get in touch. I love to hear how this unfolds for you. Finally, thank you. Gracias to the rishis, the celestial bodies, Ganesha, to the day keepers of the Mayan lands, to Mark Elmy, and to Jose Arguelles and the Dreamspell system.